I just needed 3 cans of soup. 3 cans, and I could disappear again. But the floor rushed up to meet me, and I never hit it. Instead, I was caught by arms that were impossibly strong and cold as the grave. I should have been terrified. I should have run from the stranger whose skin felt like marble, but I was already running from a human monster. My ex-boyfriend had been hunting me for months. When he finally tracked me down to that gated estate, he thought he had me cornered. He didn't know who or what was standing between us. Because when the stranger saw the bruises my turtleneck was hiding, he didn't call the police. He opened the gates and showed my ex the difference between a man who hurts women and a monster who hunts men. The fluorescent lights in the grocery store buzz like dying wasps, drilling into my skull with their relentless hum. I grip the shopping basket tighter, my knuckles white against the red plastic handle, and try to focus on the rows of canned soup stretching endlessly before me. Tomato, minestrone. The labels blur together, swimming in my vision like watercolors left in the rain. My throat aches. Not from crying, I've been too numb for tears these past 3 days, but from the pressure of his fingers, phantom sensations that won't fade no matter how many times I swallow. The turtleneck scratches against the bruises, grey wool that seemed like armor this morning, but now feels like a noose. 3 cans. I just need 3 cans of soup, and I can leave. The store is nearly empty at this hour, 10 minutes before closing on a Tuesday night. Rain hammers against the windows, October rain that smells like rust and dead leaves. I chose this place deliberately, 2 towns over from the motel, a neighborhood where no one knows my face. Where Lachlan wouldn't think to look, my hand trembles as I reach for a can. The metal is cold, solid, real. I place it in the basket, and the small clang echoes too loudly in the empty aisle. Behind me, someone's cart squeaks. I freeze, every muscle locking, my breath catching in my chest like a trapped bird. Just another shopper. Just someone buying milk or bread, or whatever normal people buy when their lives aren't falling apart. I force myself to reach for another can. Chicken noodle. The same kind my grandmother used to make when I was sick, back when the world made sense. Back when the worst thing I had to fear was a winter cold. The basket grows heavier, or maybe my arms are just that weak. I haven't eaten properly in days. Sleep comes in fractured pieces, 30-minute intervals between jolting awake, certain I've heard his voice in the hallway, his key in the lock. 2 cans, 1 more, and I can go. The overhead lights flicker. Once, twice, my heart hammers against my ribs, a frantic rhythm that makes my vision pulse. The store suddenly feels too bright, too loud, too real. The mosaic playing overhead warps into something distorted, and the floor beneath my feet seems to tilt like the deck of a ship. Not here, not now. I press my free hand against the shelf, trying to anchor myself, but the metal edge cuts into my palm. The pain helps, sharp and clarifying, but it's not enough. The grey edges creeping into my peripheral vision don't recede. They advance, closing in like fog rolling off the ocean. 3. I need the 3rd can. My fingers brush the label, but can't quite grip it. The basket slips from my other hand, clattering to the linoleum floor with a sound like thunder. Cans roll across the aisle, spinning in lazy circles, and I watch them with a strange detachment, as if I'm already somewhere else, somewhere far away from this fluorescent prison. The floor rushes up to meet me, but it never does. Instead, there are arms, impossibly strong, impossibly cold, catching me mid-fall. The world stops tilting. Everything goes still, except for the steady pressure holding me upright, keeping me from shattering against the ground like dropped glass. I should be afraid. Some distant part of my brain registers that I should be screaming, fighting, doing something other than collapsing into this stranger's grip. But my body has made its choice. It surrenders completely, every tense muscle finally releasing, and I sink against a chest that feels like marble beneath expensive fabric. Easy. The voice is low, barely above a whisper, but it resonates through my entire body. British accent, old-fashioned in its precision. I have you. The words should sound predatory. They should trigger every alarm bell that's been ringing in my head for the past week. Instead, they feel like a door closing against a storm, like shelter after endless running. My cheek rests against silk, a shirt that probably costs more than my rent. I can smell rain on the fabric, and something else underneath. Something ancient and earthy, like the rare books section of the library where I used to work. Before everything fell apart. Before Lachlan's love turned into possession, then obsession, then violence. Can you hear me? The stranger's voice again, closer now. His breath doesn't warm my skin. It's cool, like autumn air. I manage a nod, though my neck feels boneless. My eyes won't quite focus, but I catch impressions. Dark hair, pale skin, a jawline sharp enough to cut. And his hands, one supporting my back, the other beneath my knees as he lifts me with terrifying ease, as if I weigh nothing at all. The lady needs assistance, he calls out, but his voice never rises above that same controlled tone. Somehow it carries anyway, commanding attention without demanding it. Footsteps hurry closer. The store manager, stammering apologies and concern. I try to speak, to say I'm fine, that I just need a moment, but my tongue won't cooperate. The grey edges are receding now, but exhaustion crashes over me in their wake, heavy as ocean waves. She requires immediate medical attention, my rescuer says. I'll take responsibility. Sir, we should call an ambulance. No. The word cracks through the air like a whip, and the manager falls silent. Then, softer, no ambulances. I'll see to her care personally. I should protest, should insist on being put down, on handling this myself, the way I've handled everything else these past desperate days. But my body betrays me again, relaxing further into his hold, seeking the cold comfort of his presence, like a fever patient craving ice. He moves toward the exit with fluid grace, each step perfectly measured. Through my half-closed eyes, I see the automatic doors slide open, feel the October rain kiss my face with cold fingers. The parking lot is empty, except for two vehicles. My battered Honda with its failing transmission, and a black car that looks like it belongs in a museum, sleek, vintage, impossibly elegant. Which is yours? He asks. I try to lift my hand, to point, but manage only a weak gesture toward the Honda. I see, there's something in his tone, not judgment, but perhaps recognition, understanding. Your keys, pocket, I whisper. My voice sounds like gravel, like I've been screaming, though I haven't made a sound. He shifts his hold with impossible gentleness, supporting my weight entirely with one arm, while his other hand, so cold it burns, slips into my jacket pocket and retrieves the keys. The touch is clinical, impersonal, yet somehow more intimate than anything I've experienced in months. The rain intensifies, soaking through my clothes in seconds, but he doesn't hurry. He carries me to the passenger side of my car, manages the door one-handed, and settles me into the seat, with the care someone might show a piece of fragile crystal. His fingers brush my neck as he reaches for the seatbelt, and I feel him go absolutely still. The turtleneck has shifted. For 3 heartbeats, neither of us moves. The rain drums against the car roof, 1,000 tiny hammers, and I watch his face change. His eyes, grey a moment ago, begin to glow with amber light, like coals buried in ash, suddenly exposed to oxygen. A sound rises from his chest. Low, dangerous. Not quite a growl, but close enough to make every primitive instinct in my body scream warnings my conscious mind is too exhausted to heed. His hand hovers near my throat, not touching, but close enough that I feel the cold radiating from his skin. When he speaks again, his voice has dropped an octave, rough with something that might be rage. "Who did this to you?" The question hangs between us, like a blade suspended by spider silk. I should lie. Every survival instinct I possess screams at me to deflect, to minimize, to protect the fragile fiction that I'm fine, that everything is manageable. But something in those amber-lit eyes strips away every defense I've carefully constructed over the past 8 months. My ex-boyfriend. The words taste like ash. Lachlan. The temperature in the car drops so precipitously that my breath fogs in the air. Cyprian's hand, still hovering near my throat, curls into a fist so tight I hear his knuckles crack. The amber glow intensifies, casting shadows that shouldn't exist in the grey morning light, filtering through rain-streaked windows. How long? Not a question, a demand wrapped in silk over steel. 8 months since I left. 3 months since he found me again. I'm shaking now, and I can't tell if it's from cold or shock or the simple relief of finally saying it aloud to someone who might actually understand the weight of it. He's persistent. Cyprian makes that sound again, that not quite growl that vibrates through my chest, even though he's not touching me. He pulls back slowly, deliberately, as if movement requires conscious effort. His jaw works like he's grinding words between his teeth, deciding which ones are safe to release. "I'm taking you somewhere safe." His voice has regained some of its earlier smoothness, but underneath runs a current of something ancient and absolutely merciless. Somewhere he cannot reach you. I should protest, should insist on going home, on handling this myself, on maintaining the independence I've fought so hard to preserve. But exhaustion has stripped me down to my most honest self, and that self knows the truth. I have been drowning for months, and this man, this impossibly cold, impossibly gentle stranger, has just thrown me a lifeline. "Okay," I whisper. He studies my face for a long moment, and I wonder what he sees there. Then he closes the passenger door with careful precision and moves around to the driver's side with a fluidity that seems to bypass normal human locomotion. One moment he's outside my window, the next he's settling into the driver's seat, adjusting it back to accommodate his height. The car starts with a purr. His hands on the steering wheel are steady, elegant, the hands of a pianist or a surgeon, or something else entirely. We drive through streets still slick with rain, past the library where my purse still sits behind the circulation desk, past the small apartment where I've been living like a ghost haunting her own life. The city gives way to countryside, manicured suburbs dissolving into rolling hills dotted with old-growth trees. The storm follows us, or perhaps we're following it, rain sheeting across the windshield in waves. I should be afraid, should be calculating escape routes, questioning the wisdom of letting a stranger, a man whose eyes glow and whose skin radiates cold like winter stone, drive me to an undisclosed location. But fear requires energy I don't possess, and something deeper than logic whispers that I'm safer in this moment than I've been in months. The estate is private, Cyprian says, after 20 minutes of silence broken only by rain and the whisper of tires on wet asphalt. No one enters without my explicit permission. "You live alone?" A pause, weighted with considerations I can't pass. I have staff. They're discreet. They won't disturb you unless you request their presence. The way he phrases it, unless you request, sends a small warmth through my chest. Not an assumption of my needs, but an acknowledgement of my autonomy. After months of Lachlan's suffocating presumption that he knew what I needed better than I did, the contrast is dizzying. The gates appear like something from a Gothic novel, wrought iron, 12 feet tall, flanked by stone pillars, topped with carved ravens. They swing open silently as we approach, and I catch a glimpse of cameras tucked discreetly into the stonework. The driveway curves through grounds that belong on an English estate, ancient oaks perfectly maintained, despite their wild appearance, and flower beds that somehow thrive in the perpetual grey of early spring. The house itself steals my breath. 3 stories of grey stone, ivy-covered walls, tall windows that reflect the storm-dark sky like dozens of watchful eyes. Not a mansion in the ostentatious modern sense, but something older, more dignified. The kind of place that has weathered centuries and expects to weather centuries more. Cyprian parks near a side entrance, kills the engine, and sits for a moment with his hands still on the wheel. "I need you to understand something," he says quietly. "What you see here, what you learn about me, it stays here. Not because I'm threatening you," he adds quickly, turning to meet my eyes, "but because knowledge can be dangerous. For both of us." My throat tightens. "What are you?" His smile is sad, ancient, beautiful. "Let's get you inside first. Warm, fed. Then we'll talk about monsters." He helps me from the car with the same careful gentleness, one hand supporting my elbow as we navigate rain-slicked flagstones. The side door opens before we reach it, held by a woman whose face could be anywhere from 30 to 60, dressed in elegant black that might be a uniform or simply her preferred aesthetic. Her eyes dark, knowing, take in my bruised throat, my shaking hands, my soaked clothes, and something like sympathy flickers across her features. "Prepare the East guest suite," Cyprian tells her, "and ask Thomas to bring tea. The chamomile blend." She nods once and disappears into the house's shadows with footsteps so quiet I don't hear them fade. The interior matches the exterior's Gothic elegance, hardwood floors polished to a soft gleam, walls lined with books and art that spans centuries, furniture that manages to be both antique and comfortable. But it's the warmth that surprises me most. Not just temperature, though the house is blessedly heated, but something in the atmosphere itself. Despite its grandeur, it feels lived in, loved. Cyprian guides me up a staircase with a banister worn smooth by generations of hands, down a hallway lined with portraits of people in clothing that dates back centuries. I'm too exhausted to examine them closely, but I catch glimpses of faces that all share something, a certain intensity in the eyes, a quality of stillness in their painted postures. The East guest suite is larger than my entire apartment. A 4-poster bed dominates one wall, piled with pillows and covered in a duvet that looks like clouds given physical form. Tall windows overlook the grounds, and a fireplace crackles with flames that cast dancing shadows across cream-colored walls. An adjoining bathroom visible through an open door promises a tub deep enough to drown in. "There are clothes in the wardrobe," Cyprian says, keeping his distance now, as if he's suddenly aware of the intimacy of this situation. Him, me, a bedroom. They should fit reasonably well. Thomas will bring food shortly. Rest, sleep, if you can. I'll be downstairs if you need anything. He's turning to leave when I find my voice. "Why are you helping me?" He pauses in the doorway, his back to me, shoulders tense beneath his rain-darkened coat. When he speaks, his voice carries the weight of something long buried finally surfacing. Because I know what it's like to be hunted. And because he turns his head slightly, giving me his profile. Because you walked into my library 8 months ago and asked about romantic poets with such genuine passion that I remembered what it felt like to love something purely, without the taint of years and loss. You reminded me of who I was before I became what I am. Before I can respond, he's gone, the door clicking shut with a finality that somehow doesn't feel like imprisonment. I stand in the center of the room, dripping on expensive carpet, and finally let myself feel the full weight of the past few hours. My knees buckle. I catch myself on the edge of the bed, sink onto its softness, and something inside me that's been clenched tight for 8 months, finally loosens. The sob that escapes is ugly, raw, torn from somewhere deep. Then another, then I'm crying in earnest, face buried in my hands, shoulders shaking with the force of it. Not just for tonight's terror, but for every moment of the past 8 months, every time I changed my route home, every time I jumped at shadows, every time I woke from nightmares of Lachlan's hands around my throat. I don't hear the door open, don't hear footsteps, but suddenly there's a presence beside me, and a blanket is being draped around my shoulders with infinite care. I look up through tears to find the woman from downstairs, the one who opened the door, kneeling beside me. Up close, I can see she's older than I first thought, maybe 70, with silver threading through dark hair and eyes that have witnessed too much to be shocked by tears. "There now," she murmurs, and her voice carries the lilt of somewhere far north. Scotland, maybe, or Ireland. "Let it out, love. You're safe here. Mr. Valerius doesn't make promises lightly, and he's promised you sanctuary. I don't even know him," I manage between sobs. "No," she agrees, "but he knows you, knows what it means to run, knows what it costs." She presses a handkerchief into my hand, real linen, embroidered with initials I can't make out through my tears. "I'm Mrs. McBride. I've kept house for the Valerius family for 40 years. Whatever you need, you ask." "Understood." I nod, clutching the handkerchief like a lifeline. She helps me to the bathroom, runs a bath that steams with lavender-scented heat, and leaves me with towels thick enough to wrap myself in twice. I sink into water hot enough to pink my skin and let it leach the cold from my bones. The bruises on my throat throb, purple-black against pale skin, and I force myself to look at them in the mirror across from the tub. Evidence. Proof. The physical manifestation of what I've been trying to explain to police who suggested I was overreacting, to friends who thought I should just talk to him, to a legal system that required concrete threats before it would act. I stay in the bath until the water cools and my fingers prune. The clothes in the wardrobe fit surprisingly well, soft leggings, a cashmere sweater in deep green that feels like wearing a cloud. Someone has left slippers by the bed, and I slide into them gratefully. True to Cyprian's word, tea arrives on a silver tray carried by a young man who introduces himself as Thomas with a slight bow. He can't be more than 25, with kind eyes and an economy of movement that suggests military training or something similar. The tea is perfect, not too hot, not too sweet, and accompanied by small sandwiches, fruit and pastries that I force myself to eat despite my stomach's protests. I'm finishing the last of the tea when exhaustion hits like a physical blow. The bed calls to me with siren song, and I surrender to it, burrowing under the duvet into warmth and softness and safety. I sleep, and sleep, And when I finally surface, it's to darkness beyond the windows and firelight, painting the room in shades of amber and gold. For one disoriented moment, I don't remember where I am. Then it all comes rushing back. The parking garage, Cyprian's cold hands, the drive through rain, this impossible sanctuary. I sit up slowly, testing my body's response. The bone-deep exhaustion has receded, leaving behind a clarity I haven't felt in months. My throat still aches, but the pain is manageable now, a reminder rather than an active torment. A clock on the mantel reads 8:30. I've slept for nearly 10 hours. I find Cyprian in what can only be called a library, though that word feels inadequate for the cathedral of books that surrounds him. 3 stories tall, with a spiral staircase connecting the levels and windows that reach toward a ceiling painted with constellations. He sits in a leather chair near the fireplace, a book open in his lap, and for a moment I just watch him from the doorway. In firelight he's devastating. The flames cast his features in sharp relief, the aristocratic nose, the high cheekbones, the mouth that manages to be both sensual and severe. His hair, dry now, falls in dark waves to his collar. He's changed into dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, and the casual elegance of it makes my breath catch. He looks up as if sensing my presence, and those grey eyes, no amber glow now, meet mine with an intensity that roots me to the spot. He closes the book, sets it aside. "How do you feel?" "Better." I step into the room, drawn by the warmth and the books and him. "Thank you for everything." He gestures to the chair across from his, and I sink into leather that molds to my body like it was made for me. The fire crackles between us, and for a long moment we simply exist in companionable silence. Then I gather my courage. "You said we'd talk about monsters." His expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his posture, a subtle tension, as if he's bracing for impact. "I did. The way you move, your skin, it's so cold. Your eyes in the car, I trail off, suddenly aware of how insane this sounds. I'm not imagining it, am I? No, the word is soft, final. You're not. He stands in one fluid motion and crosses to a side table where a crystal decanter sits with matching glasses. He pours something dark red into one glass, something amber into another, returns to offer me the amber one, whiskey by the smell, and keeps the red for himself. "I'm going to show you something," he says quietly, "and I need you to understand that I'm trusting you with knowledge that could destroy me. Not because I fear you'll use it maliciously, but because in this world, knowledge is a weapon, and I'm placing that weapon in your hands." My heart hammers against my ribs. "Okay." He sets his glass on the mantel. Then, so fast my eyes can't track the movement, he's across the room, 20 feet away, and back again, standing in the exact same position. The only evidence he moved at all is the slight displacement of air that stirs my hair. I blink, process, fail to process. He does it again, slower this time, though slower still means faster than anything human should be capable of. One moment he's before me, the next he's at the far window, then back, moving with a grace that defies physics. Vampire. The word escapes before I can stop it, and it sounds absurd, impossible, ridiculous. But he nods. "Over 400 years old," he continues, voice steady despite the magnitude of what he's revealing, "turned in 1634 during the reign of Charles I. I've spent centuries learning to exist in a world that would destroy me if it knew what I was. I should run, should scream, should do literally anything other than sit here calmly sipping whiskey while a vampire, a third vampire, explains his existence. Instead I hear myself ask, "Does it hurt?" The sunlight. A surprised laugh escapes him, genuine and warm. Yes, not fatal, as the stories suggest, but painful, like acid on skin. I can manage brief exposures, but I prefer the night. And blood. His expression sobers. Yes, but I don't kill. Haven't killed to feed in over 2 centuries. There are alternatives, willing donors, medical supplies, ways to exist without becoming the monster the stories paint. I think about the past 8 months, about Lachlan's escalating obsession, his refusal to accept my autonomy, the way he treated me like a possession to be reclaimed, about the bruises on my throat and the terror that's become my constant companion. Then I look at Cyprian, this impossible ancient creature who has shown me more respect and gentleness in 12 hours than Lachlan managed in 2 years. You're not the monster in my life, I say quietly. Something in his expression cracks, just for a moment, revealing depths of loneliness and gratitude that make my chest ache. The moment shatters as Thomas appears in the doorway, his usual composure fractured by urgency. Sir, the gate cameras. There's someone. Cyprian is moving before Thomas finishes, crossing to a panel hidden behind a bookshelf that reveals a bank of security monitors. I follow, drawn by the sudden tension radiating from both men. The screen shows the front gates in grainy black and white. A figure stands just outside, staring directly at the camera, with an expression I know too well, obsessive focus mixed with righteous fury. Lachlan. My blood turns to ice. How did he find me? But even as I ask, I know. My car. Still parked outside, visible from the road, distinctive enough that anyone looking would recognize it. Cyprian's hands curl into fists against the desk. When he speaks, his voice carries the weight of centuries. He cannot enter without invitation. The gates are warded, old magic, older than me. He can stand there until dawn, but he cannot cross the threshold. I watch Lachlan on the screen. Watch him pace. Watch him pull out his phone, and a second later, mine, still in my jacket pocket upstairs, begins to ring. You're safe here, Cyprian says, turning to face me. His eyes hold that amber glow again, predatory and protective in equal measure. I promise you, Elowen, he will not touch you again. But as I stare at the screen watching Lachlan settle in, as if prepared to wait forever, I feel the walls of my sanctuary closing in, because I know him. Know his patience, his persistence, his absolute conviction that I belong to him. He's not leaving. And somewhere in the house's vast silence, I hear the sound of my phone ringing, and ringing and ringing. The ringing stops, then starts again. On the monitor, Lachlan's mouth moves, leaving another voicemail, no doubt. Another declaration of love twisted into threat. Another promise that he's doing this for my own good. How long can the wards hold? I ask, though I'm not sure I want the answer. Cyprian's jaw tightens. Indefinitely, but he'll call the police eventually. The words taste bitter. Report my car. Say I'm being held against my will. Are you? His question cuts through the tension, sharp and serious. Being held. I meet his eyes, those ancient, inhuman eyes that somehow see me more clearly than anyone ever has. No, the word hangs between us, heavy with meaning, with choice, with the acknowledgement that I've crossed a threshold more significant than the one Lachlan can't breach. My phone rings again, and again. The sound burrows into my skull, a mechanical heartbeat of obsession echoing through the house. I should answer, I say, though everything in me recoils at the thought. Tell him to leave. He won't. Cyprian moves to the window, pulling back the heavy curtain just enough to see the real gates, not just their digital ghost. Men like him don't hear no, they hear convince me harder. He's right. I know he's right. But the ringing continues, and with each unanswered call, I can feel Lachlan's fury building like pressure behind a dam. Then what do we do? Cyprian turns, and something in his expression makes my breath catch. Not anger, calculation. The look of a predator assessing threat levels, determining the most efficient path to neutralizing danger. We end this, he says, permanently. The plan is simple in theory, terrifying in practice. Cyprian will go to the gates, will speak to Lachlan through the iron bars, make it clear that I'm under his protection and that continued harassment will have consequences. He needs to see what he's dealing with. Cyprian explains as we move through the house. Needs to understand that you're not alone, not vulnerable. And if that doesn't work, his silence is answer enough. We reach the front entrance, that massive door that first welcomed me into sanctuary. Marcus appears from the shadows. I'm starting to understand that the staff move through this house like smoke, present only when needed. The wards are holding, Marcus reports. But he's becoming agitated, threw something at the gates a moment ago. I feel it then, the sharp spike of fear that I've been suppressing since I saw Lachlan's face on that monitor, because I know what he's like when he's agitated. Know the progression from frustration to fury to violence. Cyprian must sense it. His hand finds mine, cool fingers intertwining with my warmer ones. Stay behind me. Always behind me. Do you understand? I nod. But he doesn't move. Elowen, I need to hear you say it. I'll stay behind you. No matter what you see, no matter what happens. There's weight in those words, a warning wrapped in promise. What are you going to do? He doesn't answer. Instead, he reaches up and slowly, deliberately, begins to unbutton his collar. The crisp white shirt falls open, revealing pale skin and the strong column of his throat. I'm going to show him what I am, Cyprian says quietly. And you need to be prepared for that, for what you'll see. My heart hammers, but not with fear. With something else, anticipation maybe, or recognition, because I've already seen glimpses of the predator beneath the gentleman's veneer, and I haven't run yet. I'm not afraid of you, I tell him. His smile is sad, ancient. You should be. But I'm grateful you're not. He opens the door. He opens the door. The night air hits like a slap, cold and sharp, with the promise of autumn's end. My breath mists in front of my face as we descend the front steps, Cyprian moving with that preternatural grace that I'm starting to recognize as distinctly inhuman. The driveway stretches before us, a ribbon of pale gravel leading to the iron gates. And beyond those gates, illuminated by the security lights, stands Lachlan. He sees us immediately. Sees me. Elowen. His voice carries across the distance, rough with emotion. Thank God, I've been so worried. Come here, baby. Let's talk about this. I don't move. Don't speak. My hand finds the fabric of Cyprian's jacket, gripping tight. Lachlan's expression shifts when he notices the gesture. Who the fuck are you? The owner of this property, Cyprian replies, his voice carrying effortlessly despite the distance. And the person telling you to leave. I'm not leaving without my girlfriend. I'm not your girlfriend. The words burst out before I can stop them. I broke up with you, Lachlan. Weeks ago. You need to accept that and move on. His laugh is ugly, disbelieving. You don't mean that. You're confused. This asshole has manipulated you. Can't you see that? Come to the gate. Come talk to me properly. We're close enough now that I can see his face clearly. See the dark circles under his eyes, the manic energy in his movements. He hasn't been sleeping, Has been obsessing, planning, tracking. Elowen isn't going anywhere, Cyprian says, and neither are you unless you choose to leave peacefully. I suggest you make that choice. Lachlan's hands grip the iron bars. Or what? You'll call the cops. Go ahead. I'll tell them you're holding her prisoner, that she's clearly being coerced. I'm not calling the police. Cyprian's voice drops, takes on a quality that makes the hair on my neck stand up. I'm giving you a chance to walk away, to forget you ever knew Elowen Vane, to go back to your life and never think of her again. Fuck you. Lachlan spits the words. She's mine. We have history. We have a connection. You can't just, she's not yours. The temperature drops. I feel it like a physical thing, the air crystallizing around us. She never was. And the marks you left on her. Cyprian turns to me, and his eyes are pure amber now, glowing in the darkness. Show him, he says softly. Show him what he did. My hands shake as I reach for my turtleneck. I've kept it hidden, even from myself, avoiding mirrors, pretending the bruises don't exist. But now, with Cyprian's inhuman gaze steady on mine, I pull down the fabric. The air changes, becomes electric, charged with something ancient and terrible. Cyprian's face transforms. Not physically, not yet, but something in his expression shifts from protective to predatory. The shadows around us seem to bend toward him, drawn by the rage rolling off him in waves. You put your hands on her. His voice is no longer human. It echoes, resonates, carries the weight of centuries. You marked her, hurt her. Lakeland stumbles back from the gates. Finally, sensing danger. I didn't. It was an accident. She made me, she made you. Cyprian laughs, and the sound is knives and winter and ancient hunger. How predictable, how pathetically human. He moves toward the gates, and I watch as his form begins to change. Not dramatically, not like the movies, but in subtle, terrifying ways. His fingers lengthen, nails darkening to points. His jaw shifts, making room for teeth that catch the light like broken glass. The wards prevent you from entering, Cyprian says, each word precise and deadly. But they don't prevent me from leaving. Cyprian, I start, but he raises one hand. Stay behind the threshold, Elowen. Please. He doesn't wait for my response. The gates swing open, not by his hand, but by his will. Iron shrieking against iron. And then he's through them, moving faster than my eyes can track. Lakeland runs, actually turns and runs, stumbling over his own feet in his panic. But Cyprian is there, suddenly, impossibly, blocking his path. You wanted to talk, Cyprian says, conversational now, almost pleasant. Let's talk about consequences. About what happens to men who hurt women under my protection. I'm sorry. Lakeland's voice cracks. I'm sorry. Okay. I'll leave. I'll never contact her again. Just please. Please? Cyprian tilts his head, considering. Did she say please when you had your hands around her throat? I can't see his face from this angle, but I see Lachlan's. See the moment absolute terror sets in. See him realize exactly what he's dealing with. You're going to leave, Cyprian continues, his voice soft, hypnotic. You're going to drive away from here and never come back. You're going to forget Elowen's name. Forget her face. Forget she ever existed. And if you ever try to find her again, I will know, and I will come for you. Do you understand? Lachlan nods frantically, tears streaming down his face. Say it. I understand. I'll leave. I'll forget. I promise. Cyprian leans closer, and I hear him whisper something too low for me to catch. Whatever it is makes Lachlan go pale, makes him sway on his feet like he might faint. Then Cyprian steps back, and the predator recedes. His form shifts back to something approaching human, though his eyes still glow amber in the darkness. "Go," he says simply. Lachlan goes, staggers to his car, parked haphazardly on the side of the road, and fumbles with his keys. The engine roars to life, and then he's gone, taillights disappearing into the night. The silence settles over the estate like snow. Cyprian stands outside the gates for a long moment, his back to me, shoulders rigid with residual tension. Then he turns, and his eyes find mine across the distance. I should be afraid, should be horrified by what I just witnessed. The inhuman speed, the predatory grace, the casual display of power that could have killed Lachlan as easily as breathing. But all I feel is safe. He walks back through the gates, and they close behind him with a soft click. Each step brings him closer, brings him back from whatever dark place he went to when he saw those bruises. Elowen. He starts, but I'm already moving. I cross the threshold, meet him halfway, and wrap my arms around him. He's cold, so cold, but solid, real, here. "Thank you," I whisper against his chest. His arms come around me slowly, carefully, as if I might break. I didn't hurt him. I wanted to, but I didn't. I know. I could have, easily. I know that too. We stand there in the cold night air, and gradually I feel the tension leave his body. Feel him become something approaching human again, though I'm starting to understand that he'll never be fully one or the other. Not monster, not man, but something in between. "Come inside," he says finally. "You're freezing." I am. My teeth are chattering, my fingers numb. But I hadn't noticed until he mentioned it. We walk back to the house together, his arm around my shoulders, my hand resting over his silent heart. Marcus holds the door open, his expression carefully neutral, though I catch the slight nod he gives. Cyprian approval, maybe, or respect. The house enfolds us in warmth and shadow. My phone has finally stopped ringing. "He won't come back," Cyprian says as we climb the stairs. "The compulsion will hold. He'll wake up tomorrow and struggle to remember your name." "Is that what you whispered to him? A compulsion, among other things?" His smile is grim. I may have also described in detail what I would do to him if he ever tried to contact you again. Sometimes the old-fashioned threats work best. We reach the library. Our library now, I realize. The place where this strange, impossible thing between us began. Cyprian turns to face me, his eyes back to their normal dark brown, though shadows still linger in their depths. "I need you to understand something. What you saw tonight, that's part of what I am. The violence, the predator, I can control it, but I can't eliminate it. I'm not asking you to. You should be afraid of me." I reach up, cup his cold face in my warm hands. "I'm afraid of a lot of things. Afraid of being alone, of being found, of never being safe. But you? No. You're the first person in months who's made me feel like I can breathe." His eyes close, and for a moment he looks almost human, almost vulnerable. "Stay," he whispers. "Not just tonight. Stay." The word hangs between us, heavy with implication, with promise, with the acknowledgement that this, whatever this is, has become something neither of us expected. "Okay," I say simply. And in the warm silence of the library, surrounded by books and shadows and the steady presence of something ancient and protective, I finally feel the last knot of tension in my chest unwind. Outside, the night keeps its secrets, but inside, I am home.